Good evening. Good evening. It is Wednesday and checking the date, the 5th of September. Exciting times for me. Last week I had quite a significant birthday, and I was very proud of that because that means that I'm one of the older members of my bloodline, as it were. My father died at 53, my mother died at 59. I am older than either of them. Exciting times. About to leave work. About to start work. About to start a very huge project. And it's very exciting, and I'm feeling very buoyant and full of the joys, full of excitement about what's happening in my life at the moment. And I guess that's a time when you should expect to be taken down a peg. Where were we? This is a bit of a confused, rambly sort of story. I've been watching on YouTube some Spike Milligan clips, and I don't know, some of you will know Spike Milligan, some of you may not. He was... I think of him as English, but of course he's Irish. A comedian, a writer, a raconteur, trumpet player, and an all-round good guy. But his humour was surreal. He would tell wonderful, wonderful stories, and he would be trotted out on various chat shows where various fairly inane interviewers would ask him funny questions, and he would tell wonderful stories, but always surreal. There was always this strangeness to his stories which make them very, very well worth watching. And life does some pretty surreal things. I got various correspondence relating to the fact that I'd reached a certain age, cards from people that know my address, and some wonderful sentiments, wonderful well-wishing sort of things. Now, there's a little thread to the story that you will need to have to make sense of this nonsense. In England, in Great Britain, we have what we call the National Health Service. The idea is that from cradle to grave, doesn't matter what you have, whether it's a broken fingernail or some dreadful disease, you will be looked after. That's the theory. I'll leave it to others to comment how well that works. The National Health Service hasn't quite caught up with exactly where I live, which sort of suits me. I don't intend to bother them, and I'll be quite happy if they don't bother me too much. Some of you will know that a couple of times over the last 18 months I have needed the National Health Service. Very useful to have it there when you're in discomfort. But anyway, they still write to me at an address that I lived at once, and the home of a very, very dear friend of mine. Anyway, she phoned me up earlier today with something that actually turned out quite surreal. She said, "You've got a letter from the National Health Service." So I said, "What does it say?" So she said, "Well, would you like me to open it?" And I thought, well, yeah, you're not going to know what it says unless you open it. And we have no secrets. So anyway, she opened it and she read it to me. Just at that point in life where I'm excited to still be alive, and I'm excited with the great future project that is so very imminent, the National Health Service felt a need to write to me, reminding me about being born rather early in Queen Elizabeth's reign, and telling me about bowel cancer. There's no reason to suppose I've got bowel cancer. However, men of certain ages, they do need to have certain little checkups, as it were, and they've written to me. And she read this letter to me, and I just couldn't help but laugh. They want me to, and they use euphemisms, I've got to supply some samples. Those of you that are my age and older know exactly what's meant by that, but they use all sorts of wonderful euphemisms. Apparently, one takes these samples and one puts them onto a card, which you then put into a hygienically sealed envelope, which you then post through the Royal Mail to a laboratory where they will carry out various tests to see if there's any reason to think that I might have bowel cancer. As I say, there is no reason to think that at present. Don't worry, I'm not about to sort of shuffle off this mortal coil. I hope, I could be hit by a bus today, I suppose, but this is one of those great precautionary things. But I thought, isn't it wonderful? I'm excited to be alive. I'm living in a wonderful time for me and for people immediately around me. And the National Health Service has reminded me of mortality. Bowel cancer, yeah, I don't want it. If I'm likely to have it, I'd like someone to do something before I have it properly. So I guess having a letter from the National Health Service inviting me to post samples, I guess that's a very good thing, and I think it's something that, we should take seriously and we shall take part in. But I did have to laugh a little bit because one of the Facebook groups I'm a member of looks at painting and repairing model railway stuff, and someone was bemoaning the fact that the Royal Mail will not carry paints, little tins of paint, because they are they're a noxious substance. They could be, if you split open a tin of paint, potentially it could cause difficulties. So there we are on the one hand in this surreal world that we live, being told that we can't post a pot of paint, and being invited to post a sample. Anyway, that's tonight. What am I doing tonight? Clearing shelves, packing stuff. I've been tidying up the garden. I've been getting that ready for leaving it. And plenty to do. Anyway, that's me for tonight, folks.